Hey, y'all need a break? Listen to these stories from r/EntitledParents. My dad demands my salary. Disclaimer. I am not a native English speaker. So, if you find any mistakes in this post, it wasn't deliberate. I genuinely got it wrong. So, please don't point it out. Story. This is a true story. It's about my father. I might sound like a bad person talking about my own parents this way. But, it's true, I'm no angel, and I had a rough life. P.S. If you see me talk about money, it's in Indian rupees. $1 is about 80 Indian rupees. To be honest, I had a rough childhood. The relationship between me and my father was really bad. I'm the second child and I have an older sister. Apparently, my dad wanted another daughter. Hence, he started avoiding me from the day I was born. He didn't even show up at the hospital that day, so my mom had to go to the hospital alone, give birth to a baby, and come back home with this new baby, me. He avoided me so much that whenever my family would go shopping, everyone would get something with them. A cloth, toffee, or anything they wanted. I, on the other hand, would not have anything. If I asked for something, he would slap me in the middle of the road or inside the shop and throw a loud tantrum, like I asked him to do something illegal. Let me come clean here. After a few years, after I turned 8 or 9, I did start arguing back. I started to push him to the extremes to make him feel what I felt like. But, he would handle it all the same way, yell at me or slap me. Even until this day, I have social anxiety disorder because of the experiences I had. Not only that, he loved throwing away my stuff. When I was young, I had a hobby of collecting stuff. My oldest memory is of me collecting shells from the beach. He would throw everything away saying that it was worthless. I started collecting stamps and he used all of them to send letters to his friends. I collected coins and he threw them all in the toilet. I collected fossils, not lying. I had fossils. He waited until I filled a full bucket of amber and other kinds of fossils, and sent a verification to the archaeological department to verify it. They verified it and said they are original and could get me thousands if I sell them. I didn't want to sell and wanted to collect more. Days later, he took all of it, and threw it away because, and I quote, carrying bones inside the house would bring demons inside. I gave up fighting him at that point. I was around 13 to 15 at the time. I thought that if I could bear a few more years, I could get my own life, with my own rules. When the time came for me to go to college, he wouldn't let me choose my favorite course. I was forced to choose IT, not regretting that, but it wasn't my thing. I just agreed and lived in the hostel. He went abroad for work after that. I thought I could live my life after that. But, he doesn't let go of me that easily. He gave his number to like everyone in my college, my roommates, classmates, professors, etc., and he'd investigate me every day. If I don't respond the way he liked, he'd send my sister, family favorite, to get my mobile phone and make me realize what it's like to be lonely. After 4 hard years and 1 year of training, I got a nice job in a multinational corporation that I've always looked up to. In January this year, I got my first salary. I wanted to have a lot of fun with it, like having good food in a nice restaurant with my friends, going out on a hiking trip, etc. That's when he shows up again, after all these years, giving me everything I wanted. He'd have my food on the plate before I get to the table, the water heater would be on for hours before I go to the bathroom for a bath, and stuff like that. My mother, being the kind-hearted angel she is, warns me that he's doing it to get my money and nothing else. And, just like she said, a few days later, my dad comes to me and demands that I send him 3,000 rupees. Like I said before, I was still a trainee. My salary was hardly above 5K. So, I straight up refused to pay him that much. He was working abroad, so I was sure he already had millions in his account and just didn't want to spend his own money. Then the blackmailing starts. My grandma, sister, uncles, and everyone in my family insisted on me paying my dad because family comes first. So, after a lot of arguments, I decided to take the hard way around. I pay him the 3K, pack my stuff and move out. I remove my dad's name from the nominee and insurance list that my company provides, free healthcare in all major hospitals throughout the world for the employees and 3 family members, which just has my mother's name now. Now, I live alone, just a few minutes away from the main HQ of my company. The story doesn't end there. He called me a few days ago, asking me for another 10K. This time he says no matter how much I get in my salary, I should send him 10K every month. If you're living with your expenses, you know that's impossible. To put that into contrast, I make around 25K a month. The room I live in costs 14.5K per month in rent. Also, there are internet costs, food, tax, and other essentials I should take care of. So, I just decide to ignore him for a few days. I've made up my mind. I'm not paying him a penny after this. Even if it means that the money would save his life, I'll let him die. If the money is for his funeral, I'm going to let his body rot in the open. Like I said, I'm not an angel. I've suffered in life, but that doesn't mean I'm going to help my oppressors and be a good hero. Everyone should own up and pay for what they are worth. So, yes, the money is mine. I'm saving the rest of my money, salary minus expenses, up for my future wife, marriage, and kids. Entitled Karen makes a fuss over my plane seat, then insists that I pay for her to move. So this happened back in January 2018, so my memory may be a bit fuzzy. So I am a 23-year-old man who usually visits my parents and siblings for Christmas and New Year's because that's the only time I can see them. So I am in the airport waiting to board my flight as I see a woman getting angry because her kids were tired and wanted to get on the plane. I think nothing of it and hope she's not sat near me. Note, she was at my gate. As I was approaching my seat, an aisle seat in business class because I knew it would be smarter than asking people to stand up so I can get to the bathroom. When I get to my seat, I see one mother and two kids, one in my seat. I tell the mother that's my seat. She is visibly pissed at that statement and snaps back, "No, it's not, Crunt." Me, not wanting to have a fight on a plane, grabs the attention of a flight attendant and I show her my boarding pass, so the flight attendant asks her to move from my seat politely. And as if being asked to move set off the Karen, in a raised voice, not shouting, says this, "It's my seat, I paid for it, so frick off." The flight attendant, still being polite, asks to see the boarding passes to check the seats. The entitled mother pulls two out for the seats next to mine. The flight attendant, slightly less kind, says, "Ma'am, these are only two boarding passes, where is the third one?" The mother, thinking she's smart, says, "I must have dropped the third one so I can't give it to you." So this causes me to butt into the conversation and say that I have the boarding pass for that seat, because it's my seat. The look on her face, you would have thought I slapped her kid and called her a witch, because she then shouts, "Give me my boarding pass, you witch." I'm confused why she's so delusional at this point, because it's obviously my ticket since I bought it. The next part was back and forth arguing, which I can barely remember, but from what I do remember, it was the flight attendant saying that I clearly paid for this seat, as it had my name on the boarding pass, and her arguing for a few more minutes before stopping, grinning, and she said, "Well, if you want me to move so bad, how about you pay to upgrade me and my children to first class?" I responded by saying, "Miss, I only have a business class seat because I do a trip like this once a year, so I tend to be comfortable during my flight, and I don't have the funds for 3 first-class tickets." The flight attendant then says to the Karen, "Either you or one of your children will have to move, or else we will have to remove you from the flight." Then, without holding back, she screeches, "If I leave, he's going to touch my babies." Me and the flight attendant are physically taken aback after hearing this. After that, I stopped trying to be nice and responded, "Get the frick out of my seat and never make those claims again, you self-centered witch." The flight attendant tries to calm me down and calls for security. In the end, the Karen and her children were escorted off the flight and I got a row to myself. I forgot about it until the other day, so I decided to post it here after getting into listening to these stories on YouTube. Anyways, thanks for reading my story. EP at pool doesn't like a taste of her own medicine. When my kids were preschoolers, we spent every summer morning at the pool. I had a bag full of toys that I took with us, so that they could keep themselves amused. In about the July, a mom and her preschooler started coming to the pool. My kids were cool sharing their toys, since this kid had none with him, until after about 2 weeks, he started demanding my kids' special toys that they were playing with. The entitled mom looks up from her book and starts berating my children for being mean and not sharing. She tells them to give their toys to her son. I reached over and took her book. When she asked me what on earth I was doing and told me to give it back to her, I responded with her own words. Why was she being so mean? She should share. She lost her mind. I just kept on responding that what is good for adults is good for kids. So if she believes my kids are not entitled to the private use of their own property and are mandated to share with others, then she believes the same goes for her. She couldn't have it both ways. I asked her to choose a way she wanted to live. She packed up in a huff and we never saw her again. Entitled mom calls cops after I body slam her son because he hit my autistic brother. Okay, so basically I, 16 male, took my 10-year-old brother out for the day. Everything was going well until we decided to go get some boba. Now my brother's autism is a bit severe, and he tends to just randomly scream here and then. So while we were waiting in line, he did just that, and scared this kid in front of us who was with his mom. This made him drop his boba. I tried to apologize on my brother's behalf, explained his condition and even offered to pay him for another. The mother though started lashing out and said some seriously effed up stuff like, "I don't want your money, you should use it for your brother's therapy," and "he deserves to be in a mental hospital," all because her kid, who was actually like 14 or 15, got scared and dropped his boba. I was about to leave with my brother in disgust, when this guy takes a swing at my brother and hits him in the chest. I wasn't gonna do nothing to that, and I swore he was about to take another swing, but before that, I grabbed him and slammed him on one of the tables. Then the mom started screaming louder than a World War II siren, and told people around that I just assaulted her son, who apparently had anger issues. When I saw her calling the cops, I just laughed and went to check on my brother, who was crying and yelling in pain, since nobody ever hit him that hard before. I wasn't worried because the place had cameras and witnesses who clearly saw how demented they were. Fast forward a month, she's now facing a $2,000 fine and her son was put back on probation. For that kid's safety, I hope I never see him again. Entitled Mother Demands I Sell My Grandfather's Farm to Get Half-Sister Out of Her Insane Six-Figure Debt. I originally posted this on the Am I the A-hole subreddit, where I was voted not the a-hole. A few people suggested I should post this here, so I'm giving it a go. My 27 male grandfather on my father's side was a rather wealthy man, but the thing is, he never flaunted it. The only thing he ever spent a lot of money on was his farm he bought 2 years before I was born. My grandfather bought some land and built a farm on it. Now I call it a farm because he called it that. But it was more of a sanctuary. My grandfather would take in retired farm animals, racehorses, as well as abused farm animals who were seized from other farms. He also took any animals people want to forfeit or sell him. He loved this farm. He literally gave a name and personality to all his animals. I love the farm place as well. I spent most my summers and weekends working on the farm to earn a little cash. I became very close with my grandfather. Having lost my father when I was 5, my grandfather became the father figure in my life. With my father gone when my grandfather passed away, he left everything to me. The farm, his money, everything. I was happy and had every intention to keep the farm going. My grandfather loved these animals and I know he'd want that. The issue here is my mother and half-sister. I have a half-sister, Ella, 30 female, who was from a relationship my mother had before she met my dad. From the time Ella was old enough to get a credit card, she started living insanely out of her means. We're talking designer clothes, luxury trips, expensive items, etc. Her husband was no different. He took out multiple loans that he never paid back. 10 years of spending has left my sister and her husband in an incredible amount of debt. It honestly amazes me. I'm not sure how the hell they spent that much money. This debt has come back to hit them. Last week they got a notice from the bank. It was a last warning. They need to pay or the bank will take their house. They already lost both their cars. So what was family's solutions to this? Well, I was over at my mother's house when I was told about the notice. I acted shocked, but I knew that was going to happen eventually. My aunt, who was also there, asked what they plan on doing. I was only half listening until I heard the words come out of my mother's mouth. Well, OP is going to sell off the farmland. I swear I got whiplash from how fast my head turned. I immediately asked her what the hell she was talking about, and told her I'm not selling anything. She looked me in the eye and told me that I was. That she was my mother and I do what she says. I repeated that no, I'm not. The farm belongs to me and she had no say in this. She started yelling about how I had to help my sister out because we're family, and I can't just leave her homeless. I told my mother that my sister's bad decisions were not mine to clean up. And I left. I've been getting angry calls from my mother, my sister, and my brother-in-law for a week now. Edited. Feel free to use this in a video. Got a few messages asking about that, so I figured I'd put this in. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments.